being called a threat against Hillary Clinton.
If she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know.
Trump says he was not suggesting violence, and Clinton facing her own troubles overnight. A new batch of her emails made public.
Breaking overnight, a former librarian killed by police in front of a horrified crowd, shot while volunteering for a demonstration at a police safety event. The latest on what officers say was a terrible accident.
Flash flood danger. A woman rescued after her car barrels into a bridge. Now more monsoon rain hitting the southwest and a dangerous heat wave moving east.
Gold medal glory at the Olympics. The world's best gymnast, Simone Biles, vaulting America's Final Five to a history-making victory.
Katie Ledecky beat him off the start.
As record-breaking Katie Ledecky dominates in the pool, and America's Golden Boys pick up another first place.
The United States is going to win the gold medal.
Michael Phelps adding 2 more gold medals to his record-breaking tally. We're live in Rio for all the action this morning.
Good morning, America.
Live in Times Square and Rio de Janeiro, this is Good Morning America.
And good morning, Simone Biles and all the rest of America. How about that Team USA dominating the Olympics, blowing away the competition? 4 more golds on Tuesday.
Including Michael Phelps winning his 21st gold. There he is celebrating with his son, Boomer. Amy's at our Olympics desk in Rio this morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. So much excitement for Team USA in the pool and on the mat. And not trying to brag here, but I did get to be in the pavilion when the Final Five made history with America's first consecutive team win in gymnastics. And that's just one of the night's big moments. Can't wait to bring all the rest to you both.
We cannot wait to get him, Amy. Thanks very much. We're going to have much more from Rio ahead. But first, that new trouble for Donald Trump. Under fire for comments about Hillary Clinton and the Second Amendment, Clinton supporters accused him of suggesting violence against the candidate as she faces new fallout over her emails. ABC's Tom Yamas is on the trail with Trump in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Good morning, Tom.
George, a busy morning on the trail. Trump says that Hillary Clinton and the press are taking his comments out of context. This as the Clinton campaign is having to explain what looks to be a blurry line between some at the Clinton Foundation and the State Department under Hillary Clinton's leadership. Overnight, Donald Trump forced to explain what he meant when he said this about Hillary Clinton.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know.
Clinton supporters say Trump was encouraging violence. Senator Elizabeth Warren tweeting, Donald Trump makes death threats because he's a pathetic coward who can't handle the fact that he's losing to a girl. But the Trump campaign says Trump was talking about unifying Second Amendment supporters, not about harming Clinton.
If people mobilize and vote, they can stop Hillary from having this impact on the court. But that's not how the media is spinning it. What's your reaction to it?
Nobody in that room thought anything other than what you just said. This is a political movement.
But someone in that room did have a strong reaction. Look at that Trump supporter just behind him as Trump made the comment. The Clinton campaign not finding it funny, saying this is simple. What Trump is saying is dangerous. A person seeking to be the president of the United States should not suggest violence in any way. The campaign also dealing with their own problems, trying to explain how Sadiq Mateen, the father of the Orlando shooter Omar Mateen, ended up behind Clinton during her rally in Central Florida, where she was speaking about the tragedy at the Pulse nightclub.
We can't ever let that kind of hatred and violence break the spirit, break the soul of any place in America.
Mateen telling West Palm Beach station WPTV he was invited.
It's a Democratic Party, so everybody can join.
Clinton aides will only say this individual wasn't invited as a guest, and the campaign was unaware of his attendance until after the event. And now the Clinton campaign dealing with another email controversy. The conservative group Judicial Watch releasing emails showing what appears to be a Clinton Foundation staffer asking for favors from the State Department when Clinton was secretary, recommending they hire someone. The Trump campaign citing this as more evidence Clinton ran a, quote, corrupt office. The Clinton campaign saying neither of these emails involve the secretary or relate to the foundation's work.
Now, House Speaker Paul Ryan, who won his primary race yesterday in Wisconsin, was asked about Trump's Second Amendment comments and Hillary Clinton. He says he didn't hear the exact comments, but he was aware of it. He said this: "It sounded like a joke gone bad. I hope he clears it up very quickly." George?
Okay, Tom, thanks. Let's talk to one of Donald Trump's top supporters, the former mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Mayor, thank you for coming.
Hi, George. How are you?
Today, you heard the speaker right there saying this is a joke gone bad. Apologize?
Well, first of all, I was there. And I'd like the people at home to kind of get an idea of what happened in the presidential campaign. What he said is that they should vote against her. He never used any...
But he was talking about after the election.
He was talking about the election in general. He wasn't talking just about after the election. You know how speeches go. He was talking about how they have the power to keep her out of office. That's what he was talking about. That is what...
Generally, but specifically, he was saying this. He was talking about what you can't do anything after the election except these Second Amendment people.
We know Donald Trump is not particularly indirect. If Donald Trump was going to say something like that, he'd say something like that. I was there. I'd like the people at home to realize that the first time that any of us had any idea that that is the way it was interpreted is when the Clinton spin machine interpreted it that way, spun it out to a press that is willing to hit him every day, bang, 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 and then ask us to question.
But in real time, you had people like the former CIA director, Michael Hayden, raising the exact same question.
It wasn't in real time. It was after the Clinton spin machine spun it out. They spun it out within about 8 minutes. Bam, like that. That is not what he intended. What he intended is very, very simple. What he intended was that they should vote against her.
I guess that's the question.
With a crowd like that, if that's what they thought he meant, they'd have gone wild.
Well, we did see that one guy behind him.
Which brings me to the guy behind Hillary Clinton, who's the father of a person who killed 49 people, who wounded 53 people, ends up being invited to sit in a prime position behind Hillary Clinton. And you got to ask yourself, number one, who invited him? We still don't know. And number two, what drew him to Hillary Clinton?
Well, they're saying they didn't invite him and that she's disavowed any of his support.
Why is he such an avid supporter? What is drawing him to Hillary Clinton, holding a big sign up about what a great president she's going to be? This is a guy who supports the Taliban, who's anti-American, who himself has supported terrorist organizations, who has said that God is going to punish homosexuals. He is a homophobe of the worst kind. And he is a very, very radical Islamic extremist. What's drawing him to Hillary Clinton? People should ask that question. What brings him to Hillary Clinton? I believe it's her soft stance on Islamic extremist terrorism, which she and the president have had since the president's been in office.
He shows up at her rally. She disavows that support. Meantime, you've got these 50 national security officials in Republican administrations who are saying they cannot support Donald Trump because he lacks self-control. He would be the most reckless president in American history. It includes people that you've supported strongly in the past. Michael Chertoff, who worked for you, former Homeland Security Secretary. Tom Ridge, former Homeland Security Secretary. These are not Democrats. These are not Clinton supporters. These are people who are worried about Donald Trump.
Well, first of all, there are some of them that I respect a lot, and they're good friends of mine, and they'll remain good friends of mine. But I have a disagreement with them. And they don't know Donald Trump the way I do. I know him for 28 years. I know he's a responsible man, a very, very successful man, a man who's achieved a great deal, and a man who can be trusted much better than Hillary Clinton, who has been found to be extremely careless with the use of national security information. Extremely careless is like, oh gosh, the kindest way you could say it. It's email after email is now spilling out, one after another, after another, after another. And we still have 30,000 that she destroyed. Now, and what I suspected is true. What I suspected is that she destroyed a lot of those emails because it shows a connection between Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State and the money being raised for the foundation and Bill Clinton speaking.
Doesn't Donald Trump have to get more careful with his words if you were going to get that message out?
No, you have to stop misinterpreting him. And you have to stop putting words in his mouth that he didn't say, didn't mean. I drove from that venue to the plane, got on the plane. I was with him all throughout. He had no idea that anybody would interpret his words that way. That is not the way he meant it. It was a big surprise. My first reaction when I heard the call was, oh, this will go away in a minute. I mean, it's such a stupid thing to suggest that he would say something like that. And it was so obvious to all of us what he meant.
Mr. Mayor, thanks for joining us
you
this morning. Let's go to Lara.
George, thank you. We're going to turn now to a devastating shooting overnight. A woman accidentally killed during a police safety exercise in Florida. It happened when an officer's gun fired an unexpected live round. An investigation is underway, and Philip Mena has the latest for us from Punta Gorda, Florida. Good morning, Philip.
Lara, good morning. Witnesses say at first they thought the gunfire was part of the planned demonstration. But when the woman in the drill didn't get up, they soon realized that something had gone horribly wrong, that the officer had shot bullets instead of blanks. Overnight, a woman taking part in a citizens police academy meant to educate the public on police safety accidentally killed by a police officer.
We're all just standing there thinking she's going to stand up in a minute.
Mary Knowlton, a former librarian, was a volunteer in the 2-hour community event called Shoot, Don't Shoot, a role-playing exercise designed to show the public what it's like when police are forced to make split-second decisions. These Facebook pictures show a similar class back in March. According to witnesses, an officer fired several rounds at Knowlton of what were supposed to be blanks, but the gun mistakenly had a live round inside it.
During the first scenario, in a horrible accident, participant Mary Knowlton was mistakenly struck with a live round.
She was rushed to a local hospital, where she was pronounced dead.
Our entire police department and all of our city leaders are absolutely devastated for everyone involved in this unimaginable event.
The officer involved has been placed on leave as authorities investigate what went wrong. You see the crime tape there behind me. This is the public safety complex where the shooting took place. Right now, police are not identifying the officer who was put on leave. George?
Nice, so unimaginable. Okay, Philip, thanks very much. We're going to turn now to day 3 of trouble for Delta. Hundreds of passengers stranded again this morning. Continuing fallout from Monday's power outage that's led to nearly 2,000 flight cancellations. ABC's David Curley is at Reagan National Airport with the latest. Good morning, David.
Morning, George. Here we go again. These are the lines at Delta Airlines this morning. Passengers not happy. This line snakes down the terminal quite a ways. Already, Delta has said this morning 90 flights have been canceled. A flight tracking service says it's more like 150. That means more than 1,800 flights canceled because of the power outage. Delta now saying that some of their systems didn't come up. It's been slow to get back up to speed. The good news, George, is that Delta CEO says by this afternoon they should be at regular schedule, regular operations. These passengers certainly hope so, George.
I'll bet. Thank goodness for that. Okay, David, thanks very much.
Yeah, all hoping for that. Want to turn to the Olympics now, though, and a huge day for Team USA, taking home more golds in swimming and gymnastics with powerhouse performances from Michael Phelps, Katie Ledecky, and the all-star women gymnastics team. Amy at our Olympics desk in Rio for all the action. Good morning, Amy.
Hey, good morning, Lara. And while the American gymnasts still revel in their Olympic moment, they are also celebrating the announcement of their long-awaited nickname, the Final Five.
Layout somersault. And that's what an Olympic champion looks like.
Overnight, the U.S. women's gymnastics team striking gold and wowing the world. Wow. It's the first time the U.S. women have won back-to-back team titles.
We are the Final Five!
Leading the charge, 3-time world champion Simone Biles giving yet another spectacular performance, flying through the air, sticking her landings, and of course, flashing that dazzling smile. The 19-year-old ending the night with this stunning floor exercise, securing her first gold.
Get the gold medals ready.
Meanwhile, the other American super squad, the U.S. swim team, winning big, the night belonging to Michael Phelps.
Phelps is gonna do it again!
Edging out the competition to claim gold in the 200-meter butterfly. The crowd going wild.
And Phelps says, let's hear it.
Phelps soaking in the moment, climbing the stands to celebrate with his infant son, Boomer. About an hour later, Phelps back in the pool, joining longtime teammate and 11-time medalist Ryan Lochte for the 4x200 freestyle relay.
This is going to be a huge test.
Not even a swim cap malfunction could derail the superstar.
Rips on him.
Phelps and his teammates simply unstoppable.
No way anybody's going to catch Michael Phelps tonight.
The win marking Phelps' 21st gold medal. The 31-year-old emotional as he collected his medals.
Looks like she's going to win another Olympic gold, and
Super swimmer Katie Ledecky, the Wonder Woman of the pool, also racing to the finish line, winning gold in a neck-and-neck 200-meter freestyle. Meanwhile, a major shock on the tennis courts.
Serena Williams is out of the Olympics.
Four-time gold medalist Serena Williams knocked out of the Olympics after losing to her Ukrainian opponent. A rare upset on an otherwise Super Tuesday for the red, white, and blue.
Coming up today in Rio, it is the men's gymnastics team turn to show us what they've got, and the finals in the individual all-around is today. There are several key swimming finals later tonight as well, so let's bring in ESPN reporter Julie Foudy. Let's talk about last night.
Wow, what a night.
Simone Biles, I have to say, it will absolutely be the highlight of my time here in Rio to watch her perform. Precision, sticks every landing. What were your thoughts about watching her?
Well, Simone and that whole team. Allie Raisman did so well, Gabby Douglas. But when you look at Simone Biles and you think the most American golds ever won by a gymnast at Olympics are 2, right? She could have 5 at this Olympics, and that's how dominant she is all around. It's amazing to see.
Speaking of dominant, there was a lot of excitement in the pool last night. Michael Phelps there beating his rival Chad Leclos in the 200-meter butterfly final. Talk a little bit about what we saw from him. I mean, he's 31.
And why I don't understand Leclos pokes the bear and does some trash talking. I mean, and you
it didn't work out for him.
It didn't work out. You get the Phelps face, but you don't do that against a guy who has now 21 gold medals. And when you think about how remarkably consistent he has been over 5 Olympics, I mean, it's unfathomable. Every athlete you talk to just goes like this to him. 21 golds, and he's still going at 31.
I know. He's incredible to watch, and so is Katie Ledecky. She actually won in her weakest event. What was it about what she did last night? How did she pull it off?
Well, and that's the thing about Katie Ledecky is she's really a long-distance swimmer. 1,500, which they don't even have at this Olympics. They don't race that. It's her strongest event. So she keeps chopping down to shorter events. She's still winning. She's still dominant, and she's going to win probably another gold tonight in the 4x200 relay. So those two in the pool, we're seeing something incredibly special right now.
I know, I just got chills when you said that because, yes, Katie and Michael will be swimming tonight. So much to look forward to. Julie Foudy, thanks so much. Lara, back to you.
Thank you so much, Amy. And Team USA racking up major wins in Rio. We're going to go to Jesse now for the exact medal count. Jess.
All right, Lara, thanks. Well, heading into day 5 of these summer games, Team USA has the most overall medals right now with 26. However, they have pulled ahead of China in the gold medal race. You see the Americans have 9. They have the second most bronze with 9. They have the most silver medals with 8 right now. You see China in second place with 17 total medals. Japan has pulled ahead of Russia in the race for third place, 14-12 medals apiece. You also see Australia and Italy right now tied for 9 medals. However, the Aussies do have 1 more gold. George?
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Now let's go to Rob. You got more on these flash floods.
Yeah, look at this dust storm. It's a product of the storms that rolled through the Phoenix area yesterday. Winds to near 50 miles an hour. That'll kick up the dust for sure. And then we had rain on top of this, and in some cases, some flash flooding and even some rescues. We'll have more on that today with another 2 or 3 inches of rainfall. And when it comes in a short period of time in the desert Southwest, it doesn't take much for it to flood. The Southeast, on the other hand, some of these areas have seen a foot of rain. More coming today as it sits and spin New Orleans. I think you're going to see a lot of rain here in the next couple of days. Could see 5 or more inches as we go through Friday. That's a quick check on your national outlook. Your rainy cities now brought to you by Starbucks.
Starbucks small batch cold brew coffee. In stores now.
Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. And today starts the heat wave, the first of 6 days of high heat. Temperatures today top out at 90 to 92 degrees, starting about 3 o'clock and running until 7 o'clock. Now, there will be lots of afternoon sunshine and high humidity, making it feel like we're into the triple digits everywhere throughout the afternoon hours. High heat and humidity again right through your weekend, early part of next week, with a few afternoon thunderstorms coming each day, mainly during the afternoon hours.
It's been a beautiful couple days in the New York area, much of the Northeast, but now the humidity is cranking back. The dog days are summer.
Yeah,
now that
that's
we're
what
in
they call
August.
them.
Yeah,
They
enjoy
are
it.
here. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Coming up here, police searching for clues in those jogging murder mysteries both in New York and Massachusetts. One of the victims' fathers is speaking out.
And going for gold in Rio, U.S. swimmer Katie Ledecky winning big, shattering records, taking home